On March 10, 2026, Chuck Norris shared a video from Hawaii that instantly captured the world's attention. At 86, he was still training, still moving with focus and control, sparring with someone far younger. At the end, he looked into the camera and smiled, saying, "I don't age, I level up." It felt like more than a joke. It felt like a statement of who he had always been. Fans flooded the internet with admiration, laughter, and respect. For a brief moment, the myth and the man felt perfectly aligned. He looked strong, present, and full of life. Nothing about that moment hinted at what would come next. It wasn't just inspiring, it was reassuring, as if time itself had decided to slow down for him just a little longer. The news that stopped everything. Just days later, the world was shaken by heartbreaking news. The family of Chuck Norris announced his sudden passing, leaving millions in disbelief. There had been no warning, no visible decline, no farewell moment for fans to prepare themselves. The contrast between that final video and the announcement made the loss feel even more surreal. For years, people joked about his invincibility, turning him into a symbol of strength that seemed untouchable. But this moment reminded everyone of a simple truth: he was human. The silence that followed online wasn't the usual noise of trending topics. It felt heavier, more personal. People weren't just reacting to the loss of a celebrity. They were processing the loss of someone who had quietly become part of their lives through decades of films, shows, and stories. Looking back to where it all began, to understand why his passing felt so profound, you have to go back to the beginning. Long before fame, Chuck Norris was just Carlos Ray Norris, a boy growing up in a small town in Oklahoma. Life wasn't easy. His family struggled financially, and his father's absence created a sense of instability that shaped his early years. His mother, however, became the foundation of his strength, holding the family together with determination and faith. Chuck was shy, often overlooked, and far from confident. He wasn't the kind of kid people expected to succeed in big ways. But those early struggles planted something important: a quiet resilience. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was steady. And over time, that quiet strength became the foundation for everything he would eventually achieve. The turning point that changed everything. At 18, Chuck made a decision that would redefine his life. He joined the United States Air Force. Stationed in South Korea, he discovered martial arts, a discipline that gave him purpose and direction. Training in Tang Soo Do transformed him, not just physically, but mentally. For the first time, he began to believe in himself. What started as curiosity turned into dedication. He trained relentlessly, building confidence through repetition and focus. By the time he returned home, he wasn't the same person who had left. The shy, uncertain boy had begun to evolve into someone stronger, more grounded. Martial arts became more than a skill. It became a way of life, teaching him discipline, patience, and the importance of persistence. That transformation would shape every step of his future. From struggle to recognition. Back in the United States, Chuck's journey was far from smooth. He opened martial arts schools, often struggling to make ends meet. There were moments when success felt distant, almost unreachable. Early competition losses tested his resolve, but he refused to quit. Instead, he studied his failures, learned from them, and kept improving. Over time, his persistence paid off. He rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a champion in the martial arts world. His success wasn't built on talent alone. It was built on effort, discipline, and the willingness to keep going when things didn't work out. That mindset became his defining trait. It wasn't about never failing, it was about never staying down after a failure. And that lesson stayed with him throughout his life. A friendship that opened doors. One of the most important turning points in Chuck's life came through his connection with Bruce Lee. Their friendship was based on mutual respect and a shared passion for martial arts. When Bruce invited Chuck to appear in Way of the Dragon, it introduced him to a global audience. Their iconic fight scene remains one of the most memorable moments in martial arts cinema. But beyond the screen, their relationship was genuine. They trained together, learned from each other, and pushed each other to improve. Bruce's belief in Chuck played a significant role in shaping his confidence. It showed him that he belonged on a bigger stage, even if he hadn't fully realized it yet. Building a legacy in film and television. After his breakthrough, Chuck slowly built a career in Hollywood. Films like The Octagon and Code of Silence helped establish him as a recognizable action star. But it was Walker, Texas Ranger, that turned him into a household name. The show connected with audiences because it reflected values like justice, discipline, and integrity. Chuck wasn't just acting. He was representing a kind of character people believed in. Over time, he became more than just an entertainer. He became a symbol of strength and consistency. His roles may have been fictional, but the qualities he brought to them felt real, and that authenticity is what kept audiences connected to him for so long. The man behind the image. While the world saw strength and confidence, Chuck's personal life was filled with challenges and emotional moments. He experienced loss, heartbreak, and difficult decisions just like anyone else. The passing of loved ones, including his mother and former wife, deeply affected him. He also faced one of his toughest battles when his wife dealt with serious health issues. During that time, he stepped away from his career to focus on supporting her, showing a level of dedication that went far beyond public expectations. These moments revealed who he truly was. Not just a strong figure on screen, but a devoted husband, father, and individual who valued family above everything else. It was in these quieter moments that his real strength became most visible. The meaning behind his final days. His final days in Hawaii now carry a deeper meaning. That last video, once seen as a simple celebration, feels like a reflection of his entire life. He was still doing what he loved, still moving forward, still embracing the discipline that had defined him for decades. There was no sign of fear or hesitation, just presence. The suddenness of his passing doesn't take away from that moment. If anything, it adds to its significance. It shows that he lived fully until the very end. There was no long goodbye, no drawn-out decline, just a life lived with purpose, ending quietly, surrounded by family. In a way, it reflects the same values he carried throughout his journey: strength, faith, and resilience. Remembering the legacy he leaves behind. The legacy of Chuck Norris goes far beyond films, championships, or internet fame. It lives in the way people remember him, as someone who overcame adversity, stayed disciplined, and remained true to his values. The jokes and memes may have made him larger than life, but the real story is even more powerful. He was a man who kept going, no matter what life put in front of him. His journey reminds us that strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about continuing despite the challenges. While his passing marks the end of an era, the impact he left behind continues. And in that sense, the line he once said still feels true. Not as a joke, but as a reflection of a life that never stopped growing.